And I don't recommend this for everybody. It's just what worked for me.
Look, I don't do public shaming.
We were just this lovely, plump family.
You have to live life right now.
Hi, and welcome to Living Large in America. My guest today is fashionista and Fluvog fan, Chris Wasserman. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Top question is, what is your current weight right now?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
That is an awesome answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I could kind of guesstimate somewhere between 270 and 285.
Okay. Like when I was at my heaviest, I gauged my well-being and, like how I was feeling and stuff on like, do I fit into my clothes? Can I, do the stuff I want to do? And just stepping on the scale was so depressing that I just didn't see any need to do it. And honestly, there was no need to do it.
No, I agree. The only reason that I'm kind of like, I'd been pretty stable for a while, only because, occasionally when I go to the doctor's office, they'll be like, oh, get on the scale. And I'm like, sorry, whatever. And that really hadn't changed. So I am feeling like I've gained a little like quarantine weight potentially, or just, I'm really not getting enough exercise. So it could be just a loss of muscle.
Everyone's talking about the quarantine 15.
Right.
And it's not surprising to me because, like, what has everybody been doing while they've been cooped up? They have been eating comfort food and they have been cooking like crazy because now they have time.
Yeah. And, I really don't have like a copious amounts of time. It's more about just sort of like comfort eating and sort of boredom, like snack eating.
Yeah. I found out how to make homemade kettle corn. So that was probably not an awesome day for me, but but I was happy.
Yeah. And as far as clothing fit, like I haven't put on a pair of pants in a couple weeks. I've just been like living my best like Mrs. Roper caftan life. And I also have like an overall dress that sometimes I'll put that on if I've been like in a t-shirt. So I haven't really like, everything's been just sort of comfy, just kind of cotton dresses. And, if I go out of the house to go play Pokemon, and it's pretty much been in the car because I've had some awkward, like I tried to go to the park and people were not always social distancing the way they should.
One of my Facebook friends posted a link to a bunch of old weapons, and there was a pike staff, and a pike staff is basically an 8-foot-long spear. And I'm like, that's what I need to hike around, because that way, I can point it at people and go, this much distance, this much. And you're on the pokey end, so watch it. One of the reasons why I wanted you on the show is that I love your Instagram. You Instagram yourself in fabulous clothes all the time. When did you first become interested in fashion?
Oh, really? When I was a kid. My mom had struggled with weight all her life. She was the child of immigrant parents, and there was very much that aesthetic of, having chubby children, and that, that showed your wealth, that you had these cute chubby kids, and then there was a cutoff where you suddenly had to be like a slim adult. So she and her two siblings all struggled with weight for their entire adult lives. She was on and off diet medication, on weight loss plans, on and off since she was 13 or 14. And I remember growing up, because I was initially thin. Like I didn't have weight problems growing up. I was, a bit of a fussy eater at one time. And I grew fast as a teenager. I grew, from the point where I was like 10 and I was already 5'3", and I'm 5'8" now.
Wow.
So I grew and I matured very quickly in my teen years. And, my grandmother would like make a point of like when we'd go out to dinner with them, like once a month when they were not in Florida for the season. And she would do things like pinch at my waist and be like, oh, if you could only look like Chris. Oh, look at this great waist. Oh, look at this figure. And I remember like my grandmother always being like impeccably dressed. She always wore like silk blouses, and in the winter she had wool gabardine pants, and in the summer she had linen pants, and they were always like that kind of Audrey Hepburn, just coiffed hair, in this like perfect page boy kind of situation. That by the time her parents were older, so it was blonde, and she always wore shades of taupe and mauve, and she always wore a heel, like even her slippers, like when we go over there, and she'd kind of settle in, and she had like, it was like one of those ladies that like she couldn't wear flats anymore. She always had to have like a 2.5-inch heel at all times. Like a 2-inch heel was like a low heel. And it was very, like stylistically, it wasn't very varied, but just that she was always like well put together. My mom was interested in fashion and wanted to look good, and there really wasn't a lot available in that time, in like the 80s and 90s. It was Lane Bryant was all really ugly, like muumuus, not like cute caftans.
Lane
like
Bryant
ugly.
is still not great.
It's better than it was.
Yeah, but still, too many of the clothes are like big, shapeless with big ugly prints. And, so I don't know who they're catering to, but they always remind me of like the kind of thing my grandma would wear. Because my grandma was not a fashion plate.
Yeah, so periodically, like we would go like twice a year, we would go up to New York. Cause I grew up outside of Philadelphia. And the Bloomingdale's in New York had a plus size section where she could get like nice plus size stuff. So it was like going to Mecca, that we could go and like she could find some pieces that were kind of professional. She got really involved in the community. She wanted to look professional, and it was really hard to find like nice professional clothing. She was really like the size that I am now, but 2 or 3 inches shorter. And they didn't have like the same kind of stuff available. So she got a lot of like, classic kind of plain pieces, and she always wore like really fabulous jewelry and shoes. So that's definitely where my love of shoes came from. Even if she had a plain like merino wool like outfit, that she had like trousers and a cardigan and, that kind of situation, she'd have like a fabulous brooch and a fabulous ring and some really neat shoes. Now there's a lot more available, and I really like kind of push the envelope of, things that are quote age appropriate. I think I dress a lot younger than she did at the same age, so I look back, I now have memories of her at my age. It's what I have available. I like to be like more playful because I think I can, I think
absolutely.
She would have liked to have been able to do that. Like when I got into like senior year of high school, and I was kind of like a punk rock kid and was starting to experiment with like funny colored hair, like she would do like a little streak in the back or do like kind of a little bit underneath, that it was kind of fun that she could put her hair up and have a little bit of purple. But I think she was a little afraid to really take a lot of fashion chances.
And I think that I mentioned this on an earlier episode, that it feels like too many people feel like they don't deserve to dress well. Like, I am a failure as a person because I am too large, and therefore nobody wants to look at me, so why bother? I'm just going to wear sweats and giant T-shirts and look sad all the time. I love hearing that your mom took great pride in her appearance and that she passed that on to you, because, man, you can put together an outfit.
Well, thank you.
So where do you get most of your clothes?
There's a variety of sources, and I've tried to try to find some more indie designers when I can, but still the bulk of my stuff is from Torrid. You know, as far as like jeans, like they have tall sizes online, so I know I can always find, like, because even though I'm only 5'8", just a little kind of history of, like, you know, I really wasn't heavy until like my 20s that I started gaining some weight when I was out of college and went into the workforce and was more sedentary. At that time, you know, I really wore a lot of skirts because I couldn't find jeans that were long enough. When I started to get more of a butt, I wore men's jeans until I was in plus sizes. And when I briefly lost weight, I was wearing men's jeans again.
I could never wear men's jeans. My butt was too big in relation to my waist for them to fit. They just never fit.
Yeah, now I just can't at all.
Yeah.
I just have too much waist to hip differential.
Yep.
But it was just for the, like, I'd wear them baggy and kind of low slung. Like, you'd end up wearing them a size up just so that the legs were long enough. So Torrid consistently has long enough jeans. Universal Standard is a new find.
I love them so much.
So much. Their jeans are so great. That stuff my mom totally would have been into. Like, my mom would have been all over, like, those great, like, jersey separates. Like, that was her summertime look, was, like, jersey stuff that was stretchy and a nice kind of easy to match with things color palette, you know, a couple more, like, updated colors and things you could throw jewelry on and make look fabulous. So that's been some of my new, like, work staples that they're comfortable, and then people are like, oh, look at that fabulous dress. So that there's that, like,
Does dressing up make you feel, like, great about yourself? Because I feel like the way that you dress, I would just be parading down the street going, look at me.
Something I really enjoy about my new job is that I do get more, like, I like that people notice that I've done something fun or that I have an interesting accessory. And I think about, like, a theme. Like, I really enjoy putting together things that kind of have pieces that go together that are sort of, like, kooky ironic. Like, I have a dress that, like, houndstooth check, but it has little cat heads, so it's cat's tooth.
Oh,
and I have leggings that are dog's tooth, and I'll wear them together. So I'm wearing cat's tooth and dog's tooth. And then I have, like, a pin that's like a lion, the lion from Steven Universe. And it picks up the little pink on the cat noses and the cat's tooth. And it's kind of little, and to me, that's like a really little detail. And occasionally someone will be like, oh, I see that pink picks up the little bit of pink. And I'm like, yes.
Now, have you ever been criticized for dressing sort of loudly?
Yes, absolutely. I've had managers, female managers, say that, like, well, you know, people aren't going to take you seriously if you look too funky.
Do you think that they would have given that same criticism to a thinner person wearing a similar style?
No. And some of it, I don't know if it was ageism also. There were people that were young in the office that would have funky colored hair and wear more stylish clothes. And when someone's like, hey, if you want people to take you seriously, I'm like, well, except I don't hear you saying that about this person. Well, they're young. They can get away with it. I've also been mistaken for younger than I am, which is good and bad. It's kind of a strange double-edged sword of passing for 10 to 15 years younger, you know, that sometimes like, oh, well, you're young and fun. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm kind of old and still being fun. But I've been passed over for a promotion. Because someone perceived me as being too young and funky, and that, you know, when I get serious, that I might get considered for a lead role.
Do you think that any of that may also have been size discrimination?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the manager, and she was a year older than me, ironically. But she perceived me as being 15 years younger than her. And she would do what she could to mask when she had gained some weight. That she also alluded to, you know, looking a certain way and fitting a certain size to, you know, if I was ever serious about, you know, moving up in the company.
Yeah, it's hard to know when you have been passed over for promotion or given a negative review or, anything like that, it's really hard to know how much of that comes down to like size discrimination versus any one of a multitude of other factors.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and you see how people react to you.
Yeah, there is the skinny bubble that people live in and where they have all these privileges and all this access and they don't even realize it. They don't even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I really saw it was when I lost a bunch of weight and that people treated me differently.
Yeah.
When I got to it, and there was a certain threshold, like right now I wear a standard Torrid size 20.
Okay.
So whatever equivalent that is in other brands or whatever, universal standard, I'm also wearing like their 20, which is like a medium, like the jeans are 20 and they're a good fit. But, when I got down to like a 14, that was like a huge, huge difference. Even when I got down like 16, I started getting like a kind of a little different attitude from people, just in kind of like your daily life. But I noticed like 14 was really the break point. Like, I was still a plus size, but just the attention that I got was very different. Just the day-to-day attention from people in general, not just men, but just people that are more apt to smile at you.
Right. It's not even like it's a sexual thing. It's that like, people are a little friendlier when you interact with them at the supermarket or, it's not like you're getting favored. It's that you are now getting the same level of attention and courtesy that the skinny people always get.
Yeah. And there was definitely the sexual tension as well, which made me really uncomfortable after, just kind of going through, and to me what had been normal, that when someone was like clearly attracted to me, then it was like, okay, but just the amount of like catcalling and just general, like you go to get your oil changed and like the guy at the place is like, oh, hey, you don't have to wait outside. You could just wait in here while we do your oil change. You can just hang out in here, hang out with us, like, wow, I wasn't previously invited to hang out with the technician while he changed my oil,
There are a whole lot of models now that we're seeing that are in their 60s and 70s, and they have the gray hair, they have lines on their face, and yet they're wearing the bright lipstick and they've got dramatic haircuts and they're wearing whatever the fuck they want to wear. And, they're beautiful. They look great. And that makes me so happy because, whenever anybody says, should like, here are the 10 things women over 40 shouldn't wear. Like, no, I'm going to wear whatever I want.
Right? I'm like, suck it.
Exactly. I am convinced that really all it takes is enough confidence to pull it off. If you've got enough confidence and you walk out there and it doesn't matter what you're wearing, everyone will think, yes, you belong in that.
Yeah. And it is a bit of like an active defiance. They're like, I'm going to do what I want. And at my age, because I'm seeing more pushback from younger women that are sizable and are wearing funky stuff. Like I have some pieces from Tuesday Bassin. She's based out of LA, and she's really focused on taking dead stock materials, out of the cycle, which is cool. Everything's sewn locally, and she has a size range from extra small at least to 4X. Awesome. And sometimes 5X. And she has larger size models. So she'll have like someone in an extra small and someone in a 3X. And she's always on the lookout, like, hey, if you're a 4 or 5X, please, I need some models. I want to show my clothes on real people. But some of the dresses were a little shorter than I had previously kind of felt comfortable with. I had this old school, like, East Coast kind of mentality of like, well, I can't wear this to work because it's like a little above the knee. And I don't know, am I like too old to, pull that off? And, and I decided to get one of the dresses I'm like, you know what, for fun, like for me on the weekends, maybe I won't wear this to work, but I'm going to get this because it's really fun and it makes me happy and I like supporting this independent designer, and then when I got it, I'm like, you know what, this is fine. This isn't too short. And I remember like posting a picture. There's someone I've unfriended her. She just had just negative stuff to say, just sour, like she would, I think there's some stuff on like my Instagram that she'd be like, oh, it must be nice to afford those shoes. And, don't make me feel bad about, not having any kids and having expendable income. You know what? I've worked to get where I am.
Like what that makes me wonder, like how much of it is, like, would she have said the same thing to a thinner person? Like if a thinner person posts a picture of themselves wearing a nice outfit and great shoes, you go, oh, you're looking good. But then somebody larger posts and you're like, oh, I see that you're buying expensive shoes. That just seems shitty. Describe your process of putting together an outfit. You're getting up in the morning, you're going to go somewhere cool. Let's say you're going to go to a party. Put together an outfit.
I think there's definitely like a shoe choice that's happening, depending on whether I think I'm going to have to stand a lot. Even going into the office, if it's a day that I know I'm going to be sitting a lot, like, because there's some shoes that are just not as comfortable to walk around in, but look fabulous. So that's a determination. Whether, like kind of the weather, if I'm going to be indoors or outdoors. And then I'll start to kind of piece things together. Usually I'll pick something. I'm like, yeah, I'm really in the mood for this piece today. And then I'll work off of that, whether it's a shirt or whether it's the shoes, that I'm working upward from, or even sometimes like, oh, I just got this new brooch in. I wear a lot of brooches now. So sometimes like, oh, I have this new brooch and I really want to show that off. I might build off of that. Or sometimes it's like the last thing and then I agonize over some weird detail of like which thing, goes better with my theme. And then there's some days where you're like, okay, I'm going to wear these shoes, but I'm having a puffy foot issue today. And those shoes are not comfortable. So now I have to replan. It's really the longest part of like my morning is getting dressed. Even if I try to pick stuff out, like I've tried to be like, oh, I'm going to pick everything out ahead of time. But I'll always leave, there's something that like I don't pick out every piece. And it's the last couple pieces sometimes that I spend the most time like kind of weirdly agonizing about. Or I've planned something and then I'll put it on and it just isn't, like I'm just not feeling it once I have it on. Yeah.
So what is an example of something that you would not wear? Like something that does not work for you?
Sweatpants.
I respect that.
Yeah,
Why won't you wear them?
The shape is not at all flattering. Just, like the leg shape, and it kind of sort of billows at the bottom. Like I'd much rather wear a legging.
Yeah. Or
like the newer like jogger style that is basically like a skinny jean version of a sweatpant.
Yep.
Something that's fitted, because I have really curvy calves. Just like anything, if you're overweight and you wear something that's like just big and shapeless, it just makes you look bigger. If I wear something on my leg that's like kind of shapeless, then it just makes my legs kind of chunkier. Unless I'm wearing like a wide leg pant, if I'm wearing a trouser with a wide leg, then I want it to be like not a boot cut. I want it to be a trouser with a wide leg, because then that creates a line that you have just straight, like a wide leg, and then it brings up into, gives you that illusion, like the waist. So I either have like a wide leg pant or a skinny pant.
But, it's true. I also have to be really careful about my pants choices, because even at my heaviest, my waist was considerably narrower than my hips. And there was a fashion for, sort of boot cut pants. It was all you could get. And
Yeah.
I would wear skinny jeans because they still made skinny jeans. And I had somebody that I worked with say, you know, those are not very flattering. You should really wear like the wider leg pants because that'll balance you out more. And I'm thinking, first of all, I'm not dressing to impress you. And second of all, no, I don't need to look like my waist is down around my knees. That's weird. I'm sure this person meant well, but it sounded so obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah, I had someone at work that was slim, and she's like, "Oh, I've heard that style of pant is going out. The wide leg pants are out. People wearing boot cut." I'm like, not me. It's the classic style. Never goes out.
That's the other thing that I think really, really distinguishes the fashionista from the regular person, and that is, you're going to wear whatever the hell you want to wear because you know how to put together an outfit. You know what pieces, like, you could be putting on something that you bought 10 years ago, but it's going to look great with these other pieces that you put together. Whereas other people have to look to like what's in the store, what's current, what's popular for their sense of style. And I love being able to put together an outfit that does not depend on somebody else's sense of style.
Yeah, that's not like a trend. It's, I work with what's available, which is based on some trends. But there are things that, the good thing about having, stabilized in size is that you have more of a range of things to choose from. You've acquired pieces that you like. And, and I have some things that are more size flexible that I've kept, that even though I bought them when I was smaller, that they still work.
I have leggings that I wore when I was at my heaviest, and I am still wearing them now, 70 plus pounds later. Like, okay, now they're starting to droop, like I don't really fill them up. But that's a 70-pound spread for one pair of leggings. And that's kind of surprising. I would have thought that I would have gone through like more sizes of stuff. Like I would be down to way different sizes now. So do you have anything like that has really that changes, that you can wear regardless of what size you are?
Yeah, and it's been like a long time that I've known, since I was a teenager, that there was a lot of flexibility in like big dresses. Because there were things I would borrow from my mom that she was my size and I was a size 8'10", and that I could wear, and they were huge, and like I could just throw a belt on it and it looked fabulous. And my mom would be like, "Oh, it's because you're taller that you can carry it." I don't know if that's true, that having some height helps, that things drape differently, but there were definitely dresses that I still have from when I was at my heaviest previously that I lost weight and just continued to wear, and then they would just kind of drape more, and then I might throw a belt on it, and now I fill them out again because they were just cute dresses that were comfortable and it wore well. It was good fabric, and that I still have, which is now from 15 years ago.
Wow.
I have a few dresses that were in that condition, or even things that were, so I'd borrow, like she was really into Bluefish, which it was a designer in New Jersey, and she would do, and they're still around, and she does these like funky, and everything's kind of big sized, everything's supposed to be like oversized, and it's all jersey and with these hand block printed like little funky details on them. They have these like little nifty artsy prints on them, and their pieces are like a big dress and a big pinafore that you could wear over a t-shirt, and like wide leg pants, and so those were some funky pieces that we would get early on, like when she was just starting out, because we were pretty close to where that store was in New Jersey. They had like a little boutique in Frenchtown. She would still, get some of those pieces and just, order them. But I would borrow those, being like so much smaller. And she had some pieces when she passed away that she didn't end up getting to wear, that I still have. I have like 2 skirts. So that's now like 18 years
Wow.
that I've had those. And it's a drawstring skirt, and it has a funky pattern, and it's long enough. So yeah, I still have those.
I feel like that takes some know-how. It takes some know-how to be able to look at an article of clothing and say, yeah, that would still look good if I did X to it. I don't have that. There are some like kind of bigger, sort of shapeless dresses that I had from when I was at my heaviest, and I tried throwing a belt on, and I'm like, oh no, it just looks like I threw a belt on over a potato sack. It looks terrible. Maybe I'm just the wrong shape now for that particular dress, and that's really possible.
Maybe, and it may be where you're putting your belt.
Around my waist?
Like if you're trying,
is there another place to put them?
You can like high waist it.
Okay.
And make it like empire, and because I don't put the belt at my waist because it doesn't look good. It ends up like kind of like blousing a little weirdly,
right?
Because I'm so busty that if I put something so I end up doing high waisted, and so it comes in like right under my bust, and then it'll kind of go out and give like an A line from there, and it's more flattering. Or you might find like a low-waisted belt is better if you're small enough. Like I used to wear like a low slung, like a hip belt.
Yeah, I'm definitely small enough for that now. My new thing though is corsets with everything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, as a larger busted woman, that bras for larger breasted women are expensive.
Oh, heckin' expensive.
Oh my gosh. Like the cheapest ones I found that are really well made are in the $70 to $75 range. And that's on the low end. You could spend hundreds of dollars on a good bra.
I can't deal with spending $100 on a bra. I don't know why.
Especially I'm not going to spend that much on underwear. That's crazy. But a corset is like an infinitely adjustable bra. You don't wear a bra, because I wear the overbust kind of corset.
Oh,
so
yeah.
This is,
yeah,
so
I
this
have
is holding
all
my boobs
underbust
up.
corsets.
Yeah, this is holding my boobs up, and it will continue to fit me for quite a while, regardless of my gaining or losing weight, because they're very adjustable. That's the whole point of corsets.
Right, until the bust meets in the back.
Right. So it looks cool. I have a butter-colored frock coat.
Love it.
Yeah, it is. And it's this nice jacquard, and it is just a really, really fun piece. And, I can put like literally any kind of trousers and a corset and that coat, and I'm the best looking person in the room.
Yeah. I loved you had posted you had this little cropped red sweater, I think.
Yep.
And the black corset, and I don't know what was something black that was on the bottom. I don't know if you were wearing a skirt.
I was wearing leggings, but the other practical thing I have is a pocket belt from Blue Moon Designs, a woman who sells them basically at craft fairs in the Bay Area. And the great thing about it is it's got 4 pockets and like hooks and stuff, like D-rings.
Yeah.
And it's also got corset lacing in the back so that it is very adjustable. And I like it because it hits me right at the hips. And when I'm wearing leggings, I got no pockets, and I can't live without pockets. So I have this external pocket. It looks awesome. So I was just wearing leggings and my pocket belt, and then this corset and my little red shrug sweater. And everybody said, "Yeah, you look like a sexy Star Trek captain." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it."
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I like wearing a sporran.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
I am excited, and I have been taking notes about all of the designers and all of the clothing lines that you have talked about. So I want to put links to those on the show notes so that we can all walk out looking as cool as you.
I just wanted to note this designer in Australia, Cutting Shapes Club, and it says "Riots, Not Diet."
Nice.
And it's fantastic. And she has bigger models and Jules Fashion. She's a Fluvager and also makes cool plus size stuff in Australia.
Cynthia Ashby makes a lot of it's not necessarily plus size, but the pieces that she makes are really kind of big and flowing and very dramatic. Like pieced together from all kinds of different fabrics, and so they're a lot of times asymmetrical, and they're cool colors. And I have a couple of things of hers, and I love them so much. Thank you so much for talking to me about this stuff.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
This was fun. And that's our show. I would like to thank my guest, Chris Wasserman, and thank you, listeners. Living Large in America is written and produced by Lisa Quintana. Our music was composed by Cambo Smith. If you have a story about weight, body image, size discrimination, or fat phobia you'd like to tell, drop us a line, info@livinglargeinamerica.com. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and most other podcast apps. If you like the show, could you please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts? It really helps. And if you don't like the show, can you lie and give us a good rating anyway? I'd do it for you. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again in 2 short weeks. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.